why is symbol important? It offers a place where concepts converge, right? Synvalo in Greek means to toss together. Volley is like a shot or something you throw. So to throw together is what the word means. And the opposite is diavalo, which means to toss asunder. And that's the left brain is luciferic and it has a scattering effect about it. That doesn't mean it's bad or wrong as long as you use it where it is needed. So if you want to calculate, if you want to measure, if you want to compare, oh, by all means, go there, right? But if you want to go deeper, it won't let you go deep at all. It tosses you back out, right? And it always wants the last word, which I find amazing. So the other thing is with symbol, you go up a level. You know, when I was working, I had realized I would bring up a lot of triggers at work, and I had to learn to do it without getting people upset. So what I realized is the best way to do that is to draw a picture, put it on the table, and have everybody discuss that picture. So they can get as passionate as they want towards the picture rather than each other. If you do a dialogue, it becomes an argument. Whereas if you focus on the picture, it's a neutral play. And I think argument is the healthiest thing there is, as long as you don't make it personal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So symbol offers that in our own thinking and in our discussion with others. It's a neutral place and it's outside the physical. So it's outside all the stuff we have learned about and stuffed our left brain with that will jump up and say, no, I disagree. No, this is wrong. No, you're wrong. I'm smart. You're stupid. Right? So remember when we were doing the cycle of drama, how the last quadrant was comedy?
Yeah.
And why does comedy work? Comedy works because you have to go to the upper side of yourself and look down on yourself and laugh at yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a place of wisdom. Most comics are very sad people and very wise people. Being funny is their way of defense that allows them to express themselves without people banging down on them, right?
Yeah.
So symbol takes us to that place, the same place as comedy. And it gives us a new perspective and insights that we didn't even dream of. And that's why I tell you the book I'll send to you is 5 years removed from my thinking. I'm sure if I look at it now, I'll begin editing like crazy because I have driven deeper in the symbols and seen more things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dialogue with myself and those images that does it. And then when I speak of occultists, I mean people who are interested in understanding how the invisible side affects the visible, right? How does that invisible world operate? And there is all kinds of different methods to get into that. But what lends itself to them recording the findings is symbol, because symbol cannot be torn apart by a government. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's a way of preserving wisdom that only the occultists understand that way. And we have a lot of symbology left over. And for me, what propelled me along was to see how much of that existed in Christianity, in the math and in the robes people wear. I mean, if you think of a Catholic priest, right, they can have a shawl around their neck, and then the minute they take that off and you see that little white square, what is that? It's the Virgin Fifth, where that little white square exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way of pictorially harboring meaning, but most people, take it for face value. Okay, well, they have a white color and only a square shows. No big deal, but it is a big deal. And it's sad because our priests today don't know the symbology. They don't know what material they are operating with. And I don't know. For me, it was amazing to see the continuity between the Eastern and the Western, between the ancient and the modern, that is preserved in Greek Orthodox, Catholic churches, and not so much in the Protestant. The Protestant has put too much emphasis on the Old Testament, and you almost don't get enough of the Christian message from it, which really reverses the rule of the Old Testament. And people don't understand that. They run around thinking about revenge and getting to be equal and all of these things, and those are not Christian concepts.
Yeah.
So, but most important, symbol is the gateway to the right mind. So when you do Reiki and you have to do these crazy key symbols before you start your Reiki process, what is that? It's a key to that other domain. It takes the practitioner out of the here and now into that upper present. And I'm sure there are a lot more than that. There are accesses to previous practitioners, but I have no way of proving or disproving that. I'm suspecting that's the case. But the most important thing they do is they take you out of the left brain, because you're thinking through these images as you recall the key.
It's very interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when I took Reiki, I thought, this is so weird. It's like magic, Why do they do that? I spent a lot of time wondering about it. Anyways. And then it's an eternal language, right? It's not bound to the 20th or the 21st century, or the older centuries for that matter. And I'm sure you guys can add a lot to this. I just tried to put some thoughts down. So, objective versus subjective thinking. You need to go back to syntax and think in syntax, what is the subject and what is the object, right? So subjective thinking has to do with the doer or the speaker, right? It's the thinking that colors everything with, how does that affect me? Oh, well, you're not paying attention to me. Or, anything that brings your personal forward in your thinking is subjective. And guess what? It's left brain. Objective thinking, we think of it as, oh, I need to be very matter of fact. And yeah, that's true. But you need to speak from the perspective of the object, not from the personal perspective. And that's a lot of occultism has to do with learning to observe who you're dialoguing with, what motivates them, enter them and understand who they are, what it is like to live in their shoes. I had a horse for a while and she was very stubborn. And she wanted things done her way and she didn't like to listen to commands at all. But if she really wanted something, she would come and put her forehead on my forehead. And I thought, why is she doing that? And then I realized she's trying to transfer thought to me by doing that. And then I started transferring thought to her that way instead of commanding her, visualize in my mind what I wanted her to do, and put my forehead on her forehead, and she would go off and do it. So that's subjective thinking because you're taking the other into consideration and how different they may be from you, right?
Try that with Ruby. Yeah.
What?
She needs to try that with her dog.
Yeah, well, dogs are, horses in Greek, their name, aloho, means without speech, right? So of all the animals, they are the least expressive through voice. And that's why these things are, I don't know, working with horses augments your understanding of taming an animal more than working with a dog or a cat, because there is no voice involved.
And dogs definitely have a voice.
Oh, dogs can smile. They're very expressive and they let you know exactly what they want.
Yes.
And they're obedient too. I mean, and with my other horses, I didn't have this issue, but my God, she was stubborn. So it takes you, objective thinking takes you away from thinking about yourself. And you know how a lot of the Eastern traditions say in order to cross, you need to leave yourself behind, your ego behind.
Mhm.
No, you have to keep the ego that gives you identity. You have to keep that to keep rising. Otherwise, who is rising, right? Where is your consciousness going? It needs to go up that mast, and it's the ego that lifts the consciousness up that mast. But the egotism and the victimology and all that poor me thinking or what about me thinking, that's what you need to leave behind. So if thinking about it as subjective versus objective thinking, am I thinking about myself first or the others first? And the other could be a plant, it could be a tree, it could be your garden, it could be anything your hobby is or you're working with, right? You learn from that environment by penetrating it in thought. And that's the practice. Otherwise, people emphasize discipline way too much, I think, and it really clams us up and we cannot, you need to open up in order to enter this world. You cannot be clammed up and self-flagellating all day long. So And letting go of concern for yourself, it's a force that you need to build in you. I don't know if we're born with it. I don't think so. I think we have to develop it, and it takes forever.
This is real interesting. Going back to your symbolism of the priest, I was making the correlation between him not realizing that is the fifth chakra pure. I guess I think of virginity as purity of the fifth chakra, purity of speech. Jean and I both took Reiki and, learned the symbols. Never was I told that that was the key to opening up. And that makes so much sense.
Yeah. See, when I took it with Karuna, he did.
In Karuna, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've taken 3 different, Reiki styles. So
I don't know that,
a lot of times they talked about doing the symbol in the air and walking through, to helping you and putting it on the walls and stuff to surround you in that symbolism to get you out of your brain,
yeah, all you need to do is picture it in your mind, right?
Mhm.
And to me, Reiki is a very personal thing, how you do it. Yeah, you have the Usui or whatever influence
Right.
from previous masters, but you really need to do your modality with it. Otherwise, you are in left brain thinking, did I do step 2? Oh, I missed step 4. Yeah.
I'm not
No.
good with steps. What comes to me is what happens. It's important to learn them, but it is very personal. It is in any of the modalities that we've learned.
Yeah.
I don't.
You stop focusing on the process and
Yeah.
you just start intuitively going with
Sure.
wherever it takes you. And that's when it's more powerful. Yeah.
Because a lot of times I don't remember afterwards what really, happened. It's really not for me. If I'm working on somebody, it's not for me. It's there's always a healing for yourself, but it's the power for what the person needs, not for what I need.
Again, objective thinking, right?
Right.
So I don't know that I need to cover any of this in detail. It takes you to a connective, neutral place, which is right brain thinking rather than discriminating, judgmental, selfish left brain. And it allows you to penetrate deeper and deeper in the object you're studying. It could be anything, anything you choose to penetrate with your thinking objectively will talk back to you. And so the next thing I was going to go through is a little bit about the geometry of the chakras. And I know that in India, they have all these different shapes that they associate with each chakra. I don't find those all that easy to memorize, and I don't know really what they say. I've never contemplated on that. But what I use a lot is how many petals are in each chakra, right? So, and I show you here how you, from first you have 4, second has 6, third 10, fourth has 12, and sometimes 13. And the 13 is it's a pink color, because you receive that when you totally align the first, fourth, and seventh. So if you think, actually, I should talk about the colors too. I can add that to this slide because it's very telling to understand how that's really not only a rainbow in how the colors progress, but how the odd numbered chakras have the primary colors and the even number chakras are combination of the above and below. So the first is red and the third is yellow. In between is the second, which is orange. That's a red and yellow combination. And then the third is yellow and the fifth is blue. In between is the fourth, which is green, which is a combination of yellow and blue. And when you think of the rose petal, what is it a combination of? If you think of the seventh as white, it's a combination of the first and the seventh. So it shows you that you get that sacred heart or that 13th petal in your chakra when that alignment or attunement occurs. So the other thing is, if you go on the 6th, the right side of it differs from the left side of it. The left side is this indigo color, and the right side is this pale blue Virgin Mary type color. And what that says is through the right one, you connect 5th to 7th, but through the left brain, you drop down to 1st.
Oh.
So I'm just trying, I don't want to tell you, look at chakras that way. I'm just showing you examples of how I worked with this, right? And how the direction is indicated in the colors. And then I talked to you about Pentecost. They translated it as 50th day. No, it's just 50th. The minute you have the 50 petals moving, you are entering that fire baptism where you're really harmonizing your 6th chakra so it doesn't drop you back down and it pulls you to universal knowledge. So symbolic, the geometry of these petals, you can see it in flowers, right? So you can take a flower and meditate on it based on how many petals the flower has and what color it is, and try to understand which chakras it harmonizes to, right? So a red rose harmonizes different than a white rose, and on and on. Plus a rose is very hard to say how many petals it has, right? But it is a 4th chakra symbol, the rose. So go ahead.
Yeah.
We're just nodding our heads.
I like it.
And I believe that, Hildegard von Bingen, who did all in the 1200s, did all that medicinal work, understanding how different plants, what they heal, right? She did it just by understanding the energy of the plant and the energy of the disease and how to balance them out, right? Having that skill must be an amazing thing.
Wow.
And but I'll tell you, when I had my experience in Switzerland, I could sense different places I walked to or drove to harmonizing with different chakras. And that was so obvious to me. I mean, I was totally shaking in a good way, like a harmonic. If you do a guitar string and another note harmonizes, right? The chakra would vibrate. And I knew, okay, right now I am on a 4th chakra or a 3rd or a 5th. And I think the ancients could really sense that energy, and they built temples in places that harmonized that way, and what God was worshipped on that temple had to do with the energy vibration. So I don't know. I mean, to give you an idea, we were visiting with my husband a temple in Switzerland, and he was saying, I feel so tired. My legs are hurting. I said, you're not tired. You're just harmonizing to second chakra here. Because I was feeling the exact same thing. So if you talk to whoever you're with and you notice that they have the same effect, right? You begin to suspect, oh, it's not me. Get out of subjective. It's objective, right? It comes from the earth to you. And that's also very important. Because so often we think, this happened to me, I feel that way. And if you could get out of yourself and understand it from the perspective you're in, you will notice energies outside you that otherwise you go oblivious to.